I'm making a grave mistake here. I did not let the ink cure well and now it's bleeding. I don't know how to fix this. Hello everyone, I'm Hema and this week I have 4 unique custom orders. So in this video I'll show you how I made this dental themed trinket dish. I usually start with cold porcelain clay and sculpt all the things that I'm going to place on the trinket dish, and then I use this air dry clay to make the base. So I don't use cold porcelain for the base of the trinket dish because if you roll thin sheets of cold porcelain it gets flexible and it's not very durable. So I use this air dry clay. I always start with making the heads and I'll tell you why in a moment. So I started with sculpting the doctor, and for that I took some blue clay to make the shirt and added neck and legs. Don't have to worry much about this part because anyway the apron is going to cover this. And for the apron I'm rolling a thin sheet of white clay, and it's very important to let this sheet rest before you assemble because if you don't, it de-shapes the entire figurine just like this. I'm thinking to give you a few tips throughout the video, and these tips can save you a lot of time. I'm making arms and shoes for the doctor right now. Once they are attached, I'll start detailing the head. For the hair, I'm using black clay, but make sure the clay is as soft as possible. It makes blending much easier and gives you a more natural finish. As I mentioned already, I always rest the head before adding details because if you don't, you might press too hard and deform the shape. So that step is really important. When attaching tiny pieces, apply the glue properly. It makes the whole process so much easier. You can use an X-Acto knife to apply thin layers of glue. Now I am making the patient, following almost the same steps as doctor. For tiny detailing, I always roll the clay on paper. That's how you get the thinnest rolls of clay. And tell me, is it just me or doesn't this patient look like Nobita's mom without specs? Let me know in the comments. Finally, I'm sculpting the dental chair. The customer wanted a brown seat, so I went with that. After placing the patient, I sculpted the handrest and used a rolling pin for support. And that's how the patient looks. And I wrote this dental clinic's logo using stick pens and then started making a few dental accessories like a dental lamp, a wash station and a table. Once all the sculpting was done, I made the base using air dry clay, and even though it looks white when it dries, once you apply resin it turns ivory, so it's better to paint it with a white paint. Once everything was done, I started assembling all the pieces onto the base and added the doctor's name on it, and this is how the trinket dish looks. And now let's move on to glazing. I was peacefully pouring UV resin until I realized something. The ink started to bleed. I did not let it dry for at least an hour before pouring the resin, and that caused the ink to bleed. So to fix this, I rewrote the doctor's logo on a small piece of paper and sealed it with UV resin and placed it on the base. And this is how the final outcome looks. So this is how I make my custom orders from start to finish. If you have any other doubts, you can let me know in the comments. And here's my favorite part: like, share and subscribe guys.